IRS briefly. Done a couple of little things, but
But you're still playing. That's amazing.
yeah, yeah.
You know, my hands have turned into like claws. You know, it's like,
Arthritis.
yeah, you know,
Yeah,
they're not as limber as they used to be.
yeah. I
So
find that I get that with my brain, but
So these interviews are going to be used to put up on the Raul's webpage.
all right.
They'll take sections of it, pieces of it. How it's edited is up to Tom, but I promise you we won't take anything out of context.
Okay.
Anyway, what I want to start with is how did the band form in the beginning? Just give me a brief history of like the Standing Waves.
Okay. I was going to college at Southwest Texas State in San Marcos, now called Texas State, and was working at a bookstore. Um, Found that my musical taste had kind of veered away from the mainstream.
What
Uh,
year was this?
Pardon?
What year was this?
77.
Okay.
And working at the bookstore, I would get, we would get Cream and New York Rocker and, things like that. And so I was reading about the CBGB's scene and that kind of thing. And so I've gotten into some of the music, mostly from reading about it more than hearing it. Um, and I can't remember if, when in this timeline the Sex Pistols played. Do you remember when that was?
I think that was 70. I remember that it was the night I was at Soap Creek Saloon and I was leaving town going to Los Angeles and I heard the Sex Pistols were playing the next day. I thought that was 76 maybe? 77?
Could be,
It
could
was
be.
I don't
Uh,
go
I
ahead.
just remember that I wasn't wild about them. But Roland Swinson said, you really should go to this. Um, and then I guess it was a short time later, 77, when I was in school, Roland told me about this club, Rauls, and that I needed to come down and check it out. And I went and saw the Skunks and the Next, and it was really hot. So this must have been July, August, um, and it was so hot I took my shirt off, and that's when I met Bobby. When he came over and
To put your
informed me
shirt
that I needed to put my shirt back on,
back.
and I was like, "Oh no, man, it's like really hot." And Roland's like, "No, do what he says." um, So after that, it was like, well, this is cool. It's a club where I could play. And I'd been in bands before. I'd been in a band, I'd played with David Cardwell. Uh,
Okay.
he and I had been roommates when he was at Texas State before he transferred to UT RTF department. Um, so called him up and had met uh, Dottie's friend Shona, who played piano.
Right.
So I thought, okay, well, here's the beginning of a band. So the three of us got together. Um, David and I each had a couple of songs, in the works at this point. Um, and so we talked about, what we could cover and what originals we could work up. And um, my friend Renee Bowles knew this guy, Mark, who was a drummer. And so we enlisted him. Somewhere in here, we got the gig opening for the Huns at the ballroom.
Okay.
And so we played that with Mark. And after the gig, he was like, this is not my kind of music. So he was out. Um, Came up with the name of the band maybe the day before the gig.
Okay.
I got it from my physics textbook. Um, and of course, we were billed as the Latent Homos.
Yes, I remember that.
We'll fill David Cardwell
Yeah.
action there. And so we enlisted Ian Bailey from the Body Snatchers to play some gigs with us. But I think we were not, I don't know, we weren't cool enough for him or something. And so after, I think he played 4 or 5 gigs. And so I'd called Bob Murray, who I'd gone to high school with. I went to high school with Bob and Roland and David Cardwell.
Now, where is this? In
Reagan,
Dallas? Huh?
Austin, Austin
Austin.
Reagan.
Okay. Okay.
David Fox went there.
Wow, what a class.
Jerry Barton went there. He was my best friend in high school.
Jerry was?
Yeah,
I knew that.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. When I first started kind of singing out was with Jerry and his brother John.
Oh,
Uh,
amazing. There's
yeah,
a little known connection between our bands.
yeah. Um, so I called Bob, who was living in Nacogdoches, going to school, and started trying to convince him to come move back to Austin and join the band. And Blondie was opening for the Kinks at the Armadillo.
Okay.
Bob was a huge Kinks fan. So he came to town for the weekend, you know, saw Blondie, we jammed, we convinced him.
Yeah, he's a great drummer.
Yeah. And that's how the band got started. And then somewhere in there, I guess it's like within a week of each other, of Bob coming, Randy joined.
Now, how did Randy get involved?
Um, I think from an F Systems either rehearsal, uh, I was like not cutting it as I was not enough of a guitar player. So we asked him to play.
Because he lived around when I lived on, God, can't even remember the name of the street, but he lived around the corner with his girlfriend, the
Is that
blonde.
off?
Huh?
Yeah, off of Speedway, about 37th, 36.
Yeah, yeah, something like I lived with Al Regal, and he was right around the corner.
Yeah,
I used to go over there and play him my terrible songs. I
yeah,
even have a demo. I found it of me going over and going, Randy, what do you think of these? Randy was always a pretty cynical person. He goes, well, you need to work on them a bit.